the Muslim fanboy. Because look at this score difference. 458, 240. We haven't even done it. Okay, in fairness, Relic is clearly a Muslim fanboy. You heard it here first. Let's hop in. Because we've got Benny Boy. This is after he returned from Wololo, so a fairly fresh game. And then on the other side, of course, we have got Mr. Sausage Man playing in Le Yellow. And, oh, we need to remember, there was a hotkey. Apologies, because it's been too long. I can't remember off by heart. To swap... Flip, yes, it's Shift Alt F. That's what I needed to remember. Apologies for that, folks. So, Shift Alt F, magical. There we go. They're the correct way around. So yes, we're going to have Salami playing as the Malians. Sausage Man wants to lose, right? I don't know. I think he's got something in mind because although no one could find a way to make this work at the event, Salami has been very vocal that he thinks the Malians have a strength, have a way forward. So I had to instantly take a look as my first game back on what his way forward is going to be, especially considering that his opponent, the Muslim, is playing on Le Signature Civ. That's right. When I say Le, you'd think it's French, but it's not. It's the English. And Mr. Anglaise has instantly gone for the racks, opening with the men-at-arms. A good choice, actually. So one big issue for the Malians is they don't really have units that deal with men-at-arms very well. Or rather, they don't have a way of holding a front line long. In theory, the Musafadi warriors should shred men-at-arms, but the composition you move into around that time of the game is Lombo's men-at-arms versus, javelin throwers and Musafadi warriors. That's going to favor the English, not just because of the attack speed aura, but because Lombos can actually kind of counter out javelins at range, and then Lombos can easily wipe out Musafadi warriors before they can make mincemeat of the men-at-arms. And, well, these men-at-arms, of course, come out so early. So you see him wrapping around to that gold vein. Because, of course, one big thing about the Malians, maybe one weakness that has been identified from a very early point, is this Civ is incredibly predictable, the opener. They're always going to go for the pit mine. They're always going to look to drop down the houses. But you notice that there's only 2 houses so far. We haven't gone crazy with this. Even though he could have been the straggler trees for longer. But doesn't mean he's going to necessarily get much gold out. The Salami should get enough for the tech up, but won't get much past that. And I think one of the annoying frustrations whenever you try to play Malians with this predictable opening is not only are you getting crippled on your gold gathering, you're also getting crippled on your housing. And that's a knock-on effect, right? You're predictably placing each of these houses for merely a pittance, 25 wood apiece, but it still adds up. And then you're losing it and having to come back and build again. Now, why is that a big deal? It's the idle time. You know, when you come up to these pit mines, sure, you can argue that you build these houses quicker than other civs, but the issue you encounter is the walk to and fro, especially at this stage when you don't have wheelbarrow. I think that's where we're going to notice the Malians trying to optimize a lot more. And you just feel like you have to come out here. Like, if you don't build these houses near the pit mine, you feel like you're just doing yourself a discredit. Well, looks like the men-at-arms did at least get through one of these. And I noticed the scout actually went on the march again, so look to return those sheep, because one issue that Benny Boy could run into is a lack of food at home. And in fact, that's exactly why he's coming back right now. If we check the vision side of things, it does look like Salami was able to skirt around the flanks and maybe get something out of this. In fact, right now, Salami has just parked both of his scouts inside the TC. I'm not sure that was intended, though. It could be that he's just keeping them on guard in case the man-at-arms comes over to the Mansa Quarry. So then he can kind of pepper him down with arrows. But it seems like this may have been a slight whoopsie-daisy, especially if you consider how much sheep is still available on the map. Definitely want to be out there with your double scouts gathering those up. Man, this Mansa does feel very chill in its build-up. Council on the other side is going to be heavily delayed in comparison. That's the price, of course, going into the racks and the men-at-arms. But you're less likely to be harassed at the beginning of the age. Unless Salami wants to go into some sort of hard cavalry push very quickly, which can be pricey. And even then, like, one of the risks you run is, like, what can you actually find? I think he did scout out the base, so he knows what is exposed on the Muslim side. He could try to block gold and stone. But even if you rush over a few scouts, for example, the issue you're going to run into is by the time you arrive, 2 to 3 Lombos are going to be there, and they can guard from the safety of the TC. It's actually going to be the archer range. So, interestingly enough, looks like we might be opening into javelin throws. I'm kind of expecting archers to be the go-to. Just kind of mass archers and swarm over the more premium units that the English push out. Because so far, I've really not been convinced of the javelins and their value. But it looks like that is going to be the choice. Of course, the thing you have to remember about these bad asses is they are very good at taking out ranged units. They have 6 tower range, though, and in this matchup, they should be heavily at a disadvantage. The reason being is they have the same movement speed as Lombos, but they have 1 less tower range. Demu will already be setting up those farms. Kind of forced to with the lack of sheep he got anyway. Will be instantly going into the wheelbarrow. Definitely a lot of value in this when you have to go so far out. I value wheelbarrow incredibly highly when you're at risk of being flanked, simply because you're going to have a lot of extra idle time running to and fro these exposed resources. And one thing you have to give respect to is Salami. If he comes in with the javelin throwers initially before you have enough Lombos, could be a nuisance. On top of that, if he chooses to go into something like the Scouts, could also prove to be an undoing for the English here, especially when their gold is so far away. Another issue with going for these javelin throwers, by the way, is it's not just the fact of what I just said about the Lombos. It's the fact that you're also paying more for them, right? These Lombos only cost 90 resources. The javelin are 120. And you move slightly quicker, right? 1.25 compared to the 1.12. Apologies, I think I said else earlier. But the issue you have is the less tower range, right? 1 less tower range, that difference of trying to gap close can prove quite frustrating here. You do at least have 3 ranged armor, which is offsetting 50% Lombo damage. But I've talked to a few players. I've watched a few scenarios. You know, when you go up to 20 of each, it feels like the Lombos just completely destroy the javelins, simply because you can't easily stay close enough. Well, javelins do at least pick at the Lombos somewhat. Decent amount of damage returned their way as well. The Warrior Scouts are going to prove frustrating. I love this use by Salami. This is a great thing you do with the Warrior Scouts. And in fact, if they do get buffed, it's why I think they could go from F tier to S tier very quickly, is their ability to deny vision. This is a unit that moves at the speed of horsemen with their scouts, but gets bonus damage to enemy scouts. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, a horseman, usually around, what, 9 damage? Killing a scout takes a lot of time. However, these guys end up doing 17 damage total per strike. Not bad. And of course, they're more cost efficient, right? Like if you want to go horseman, you're paying 120 resources. If you want to go for these scouts, sure, you pay an extra 20 food, but it's worth that additional price. It looks like he's going to start escalating a little bit here. I think he did lose some of these scouts earlier. Has gone into the sofa now. Now, this isn't the kind of sofa you sit on. It's the kind that sits on you and stops you from ever moving. Easily able to gap close to 1.73 movement speed. And although it doesn't have a charge, so it's not as impactful instantly as a knight, it still has the ability to stick on top of targets. It definitely has a decent HP pool, or effective HP at this stage of the game, considering their armor. I think that is also one big issue the Sofas have been encountering. Once again, it's not one of those examples where, you know, if you put it up against a knight, maybe that's not the fairest comparison because Sofas cost less, but because you don't have the charge, if you get that initial clash, the knights are able to hit you and peel off, and you can choose to chase them, but trying to stick on top of a unit that's only a little bit slower is difficult. Men-at-Arms will at least take out the Sofa, but this clash looking decent right now for Salami. We'll look to clean up the rest of the Lombos. Need to be fast about it. Nice micro come from Muslim, at least pull him away, while Lombo from the side does try to poke at him, but missed opportunity here. 1 HP javelin thrower will be ignored. It looks like the Muslim's doing it. I mean, it's interesting because of what I said around like what should win here, and I kind of stand by my statement that Lombo should be able to win this out, but you have to get to about 15 to 20 on each side, which is more feasible for you, right? Like at this small scale, you're getting picked apart one by one. And also another issue with the Muslim is he keeps investing in all these men-at-arms, which means he doesn't have his Lombo mass escalating as quickly. Like, realistically, what should be happening here is you get to 12 to 15 Lombos. At that stage, Salami's maybe 8 to 9 javelin throwers. You poke him, you run. You poke him, you run. You know, and by the time he's in range, he's already lost probably 2 of these javelin throwers. But it doesn't seem to be reaching that point. I think this is actually just great utilization from Salami on the cavalry side. The scouts plus the Sofa made things a bit more frustrating for the Muslim, and that's why you're seeing him heavily invest into these men-at-arms. Why not spears? If you build spears, you're still being attacked by an 8 damage javelin thrower from 6 tower range. You'll get ripped apart. That's why he goes to the MAA. At least this way, he's offsetting half the damage. Oy. Trying to reach that pit man at all times, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. It's important that Salami doesn't give this up either because of his composition. Sofas plus javelin throwers is a lot of gold at this stage, which is why he's hard defending it right now. Javelin throwers Right, he's going to back up. And this is always the weakness of the men-at-arms at this stage. It's why you see a lot of players try to lean more towards the range battalion. He's just not able to get that count. Interesting choice. Whoa, hold on. The slippery sausage man has done it again. Oh, what a play. This is really crafty. Not only that, he's setting up a secondary TC. Salami is doing a phenomenal job here. This is just like sheer outplaying right now. I think that the Muslim, like he thought he had a quick hard timing down the center, and that all attention will be funneled here. And one of the awkward things for the Muslim is like this matchup, you know, the Malians aren't being picked much. They're kind of being memed on. People don't really respect what they can potentially do if they get out on the map like this. And one of the issues for Dimu, he doesn't know about it because his scout got sniped early by Salamis, remember? So if you check his vision, he sees nothing of this. And because he's running men-at-arms and longbows, he'll never go and check the flanks either. It's just too slow of a unit comp. And even then, like, this is another added composition of why he's losing it in the center like this. You know, this passive gold is really starting to add up over here. You can just see the numbers coming out. The second TC is going to pay off now 2 to 3 minutes down the line. And all of a sudden, Benny Boy is trapped in his base. And the reason is that he was busy layering out these farms, which meant he had to sacrifice some of his gathered resources into eco instead of military. And on top of that, check the numbers. He was looking to go towards Castle Age here. That is quite greedy in this situation, especially now that you're being pinned a little, especially considering you're up against these javelin throwers. These javelin throwers that with their extra armor, their ranged armor, are more capable of diving the English TC than other ranged units at this stage. Speaking of those javelin throwers, they are going to spook the Lombos away. Notice he just insta commits onto them. We'll peel back just in time. And now that the men-at-arms are alone, look at the damage they take. 5 damages going through per javelin thrower. I'm impressed. Honestly, I've watched javelin throwers time and time again, and it just feels like they're too slow in these big battles. But I think that's what Salami has done so well here. We're not reaching a big battle. This is small skirmish forces. Before you can reach critical mass, he's always there, pulling you apart. And this trade is incredibly one-sided. Just look at the destroyed value coming out here. This is impressive. Also, army value is just disintegrated to nothing for Muslim. Now, the upside for Ben, he'd done this while he's taken up. The downside, however, is Salami knew it. He wrapped around with the scout and the sofa. He's going to idle them up here. That's going to force a full pull of the villagers just to commit to finish off the build here. Good micro at least coming out from the Muslim. More of these sofas are coming through. And even if you do get this up, I then question mark, how much Iliko are you going to have? There's going to be a few villagers going down, 2 struck down already. Prefer to join them. And behind this, you know, the javelins can now move in from the southern side, maybe poke and prod at a few of these farmers. In fact, Salami, if he wants, he can easily go for a tech up of his own. But instead, I think he's going to be relentless here. Siege engineering is being pumped. Behind this, remember, his economy is getting fatter. That will allow him to push more of these crap units at his opponent, right? Loads of scouts, javelin throwers, and what have you. And the Muslim, one issue you might encounter is how is his comp going to change? Right now, he's gone for the triple rack, so it looks like it's going to be mass men-at-arms. This is a pretty respectable choice up against the javelin throwers once you have the armor clad. And I think he has got it coming. Yeah, in about 15 seconds it's going to be there, at which stage these javelin throwers will only do about 3 damage per strike against men-at-arms. And remember, these men-at-arms we saw earlier, they had less health. Looks like Salami is going to buy himself some time, so he's going to play catch-up now. Walls on the north side. I like this choice to place them north instead of south as well. So he's just trying to create a natural funnel point. The Muslim's going to play either the shortest route in center or south side. Means that Dimu probably is never going to see this TC. In fact, there's the tech up now, and it is going to be the Farimba Garrison. A very big fan of this, actually. I very crafted this with a few players on the way to go. How, especially in the late game, the Farimba Garrison could be good for Musafadi gunners. But the issue is that right now, people are maybe getting over-baited into the alternative, right? You go into the... I mean, I forgot his name now. That's it. The Fulani Corral, right? The idea of getting extra food passively on all the cattle ranches nearby. But I think this is better. I think this gives you kind of a surge forward. It's more comparative to, say, a Burgrave Palace. And I think that flexibility to insta-pivot into one unit or the other, especially if you have multiple gold veins set up passively producing, is definitely something to explore here. It looks like he's going to be prepping more military infrastructure alongside this. So Farimba will go up. As you can see, barracks or archery range, 5 times the speed. And then, of course, you just pay in gold down. It's interesting, actually, because it's the old Burgrave, right? Like, you have to pay for 5 at a time, but it's that flexibility. And this is what I was talking about, like, further down the line, not now. Maybe when we reach deep into Imperial, maybe we're 10+ minutes past the point of beginning Imperial, we might see Musafadi gunners being prepped. Might be difficult against this specific Civ. I think it depends on Muslim's comp, but that was what I was hearing theory crafted around the players, is that this might be the way to go, especially if you reach that hyper late game, you've got trade, everything else online. Gunners could become very affordable. But we're not there yet. Let's not jump the gun. It's interesting, actually, because the Farimba garrison kind of does what I was asking for the Burgrave to do for a while. Because I thought like, maybe one of the big limitations of the Burgrave was that you could only produce 1 unit type. I would have loved it if there was a way to kind of hit a button that goes on cooldown for, say, 2 minutes that allows you to switch between producing archery units, stable units, or Rax units. Let's check in on Ben. Lots of farms set up. He's trying to hit his hard and fast timing here. Mass Men at Arms is going to be the play. Salami on the other side. What will be his solution? Because remember, one thing we highlight is you can't really go for the Musafadi Auroras. You know, they should be pretty damn good, right? They get that bonus damage, but people have done some tests, and they really don't actually come out that far ahead when clashing Men at Arms. Even more so when it's beefy Men at Arms like the English get with their armor clad. Even more so if they're playing near an attack speed aura. Muslim trying to be a greedy boy. I think that's, yeah, that's both. He had 2 priests. They've both gone down, and I don't think, okay, they got 1 relic so far. Still very pricey to be losing them like this. Remember, you only get 80 gold per minute, so it's definitely, at this point, burning a hole in your pocket. March comes in. Mass Men at Arms really is a strong arm move right now, especially against this particular Civ. Wrap around. Love this choice. Salami cuts off reinforcements. Does not panic. Does not hesitate. He knows he can't deal with the mass of heavily armored units yet. We'll look to shift the villagers away. Wheelbarrow get him out quicker. And he has got the poison arrows coming soon. So that's going to give him some way of dishing heavy damage into the MAA. And he is prepping a bull of archers here. Veteran Sofas will just hold their ground right now, though. Enough of them here to overwhelm, so Men at Arms from the Muslim are going to be going down fast. And the second wave, although it's idled a lot of economy, it hasn't really killed much here. You can see across this game so far, the Muslim has only managed to kill 5 villages. That might be all he gets. And that's going to be a lot of Men at Arms lost, actually. You can see the difference in destroyed value. At this point, Salami has killed almost double what the Muslim has. No, the villagers will continue to be harassed. Remember, the Muslim doesn't know what we know. He doesn't know about this secondary TC. That's going to be problematic because this type of play you're making makes sense. Well, what? Dog, you're in range. Okay. All right, Malians got buffed. They have extra layer of resistance against Wololo. I'm not imagining that, right? I did just see him say Wololo nope to the idea of joining the English. Like, come on, bro. Why wouldn't you want to join the English? They even teach you how to use a bow. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah, honestly, I'd have to go back and check it, but that 100% felt like the when the Wololo completed and the noise went off, that villager was in range. I'd say we are a beta, but unlike Dota 2, they don't name the folder beta. But right now, Salami is looking like quite the alpha on these Malians, isn't he? Pit mines also being set up over here. Plenty of passive gold coming in. Has got 34 people working on it, and the reason for that is that he wants to mass troops out the Farimba garrison. He's looking to get a critical mass of archers going already up to 27 in the blink of an eye, and this is dangerous territory for the Muslim. Because although the poison arrow got shadow nerfed, it doesn't stack infinitely anymore. It seems to kind of cap at maybe 8 or 10 times the poison. That's still going to add up very fast, especially if you've got enough sofas to keep the armored units at bay. And I'm not kidding on that. Like, I talked to a few of the players. There seems to have been some sort of shadow nerf, because on the old pop, you used to see like 30 archers would shoot a men at arms once, they'd die. Now, 30 archers shoot a men at arms, and they lose like half their HP after the poisons ran out. So definitely some witchcraft going on there. You know what it probably is? It's probably that the men at arms, they get shot with so much poison, they build a little bit of immunity to it. There you go, guys. That's the realistic explanation. That's definitely how poison works. Please don't go and drink poison. Please don't. Sometimes I realize the things I say are going to have unintended results. Good lord. Could the things I've said at Wololo have unintended results? Could we see the Malians win? Because it's got to be said, Salami is looking pretty sexy right now. I mean, this is... I'd say he's in an incredibly comfortable position, right? He hasn't fallen behind on villages. Even though Demuslim went to the King's Palace as you always do, Salami got that early TC. You know, they've lost similar amounts of villages as well. On top of that, you got all the passive income, something that the English haven't got yet. We're not in the Imperial Age, so you can't say the English player has infinite gold coming. Right now, it's just the Malian that has that. That Malian wants even more gold. It looks like he's going to start picking up relics soon. I just love to see all these eco upgrades coming through so much quicker since the buffs. Remember, they reduced the cost of these. It used to be a little bit too pricey, so people would tend to wait until they were an age ahead to go back for it. But now with things like the first tier being not 250 resources, but only 150, it's made this stuff a lot more feasible to pick up at earlier points of the game. Good God. You can see Salami. Is he just trying to build a golden idol to the gods at this point? So much gold being spent. Good use, though. Salami. A lot of sofas. But, you know, I can't speak from experience, but I imagine if someone threw a sofa at you, it would hurt. He's about to throw a lot of them at Demuslim. Spirit upgrade comes for at least on the outpost. There is an attack speed aura here in favor of Demuslim, but the archers are going to let loose now. Spread out, and looks like Knight's going to go around, but the heavy damage coming through means they're not lasting long here. Salami will begin to start a step back. The sofas refuse to go down, and they're just buying so much time. Demuslim's only option is to go for a keep. But the villagers, they're being targeted as well. And once they're hit just a few times, the poison will finish off what the archers do not have to. Frontline is going to fold. Salami is going to hold. And Demuslim will have to fall back to the primary TC. I don't think this keeps going up. He just doesn't have the numbers anymore. Salami, great patience, great mass, great overwhelm here. And Demuslim learning the hard way that mass armored units might not be as effective against the Malians as first imagined. Barely any villagers left. Just look at the difference here. Before, Demuslim had only lost 6 villages. Now he's up to 23 dead across the course of this game. This is going from bad to worse quickly. In fact, that keep doesn't go up unless you pull more villagers. Salami, he can choose to try and trade with the remaining military or the villagers instead, and just look how many of them die. Yes, you get the keep up. Yes, you hold the center, but at what cost? Oi, oi, oi. What a play out of Salami, understanding that he just had the critical mass. An efficient critical mass as well, by the way. And behind this, he doesn't double down on military. Instead, he makes his way up to the heavens. It's the Griot Bara coming out soon. Now, this is the festival one. I haven't seen much of the festival because most people go for the fortress. But as you can see, the way it works, you pay to begin a festival, and then it provides you different enhancements. So it can be either the gathering rates for food, military production speeds, or damage of torches and siege attacks. I love that last one especially. If you mass cheap units and rush in, you kind of get a fire lancer effect. Not to the same extreme, but pretty damn good nonetheless. You can see it there. 100% extra torch damage. Also affects siege. The production is going to be 50%. Or the food is 50%. 30 seconds of 300 gold. As your eco scales up to 100 plus, it's worth it. Also notice that he did start pumping Musafadi Warriors. I'm curious to see what we can do with this, because we mentioned a little bit earlier, most players feel Musafadi Warriors, they're dog water. They're not worth it. They're too squishy. They're glass cannons, but they die too fast before they gap close. Let's see what we can do here. Maybe we use a little bit of stealthing to get close enough for some shenanigans. Might be difficult with the amount of keeps and outposts around there. It's like bombards are being prepped to Muslim. Being forced to go into Mangonels. Of course, nice thing about playing the English, when you have to drop a keep like this, you can just easily get that transition going. Definitely one of the hardest civs to make a siege transition with. But once you have the keeps up, you at least have this pseudo-siege workshop within the keep, right? So that kind of offsets the difficulty. I'd say probably the hardest civ to go siege with in the game is still French. Unless they've got tier 4, right? And then they've got the College of Artillery. Outside of that, they just don't have any extra boon to get them towards it. They don't have double reduction. They don't have more wood income like other civs do in the game. These Knights seem to have broken through for the Muslims, so we'll be able to return some eco damage the other way, but there's no denying it. The Muslim is hard on the back foot here. I think if he goes for a tech up before he gets massed on military, he's probably just going to lose the game. But it looks like that's the way he wants to go here. Just needs to find the gold to get him there. The problem I have with just going this route is the bombard timing. It's already going to start breaching, and Salami. We know this man. We love this man. On the front line with a relic. Why is this effective? The Muslim has been building mass melee. No ranged. Now he's going to have to consider it just because of the looming threat. Raids on the backside do at least get cleaned up. The Elite Sofa is just too much for the Muslim to deal with. The Bombard's proven frustrating. Springald will survive. Bomber is going to back up, but repairs are available on both sides of this equation. Behind this, I believe there's probably going to be more siege coming. Yeah, Salami has got the second Bombard out, so now Springald could be insta-sniped. Sofas are going to prove a frustration for the Villies. He understands, Salami perfectly understands what's happening here. The Muslim needs gold. The Muslim desperately needs gold right now because remember, he hasn't got an access to the northern corner. And Salami knows that because he took it for himself. Wall on the center is going to push the MA away. Archers are going to move in position. The Sofa, when they're not humping each other, are desecrating these villagers. So many dead again for the Muslim. And you can smell the desperation now. Man goes to try to keep the archers at bay because if they get close enough, all these villagers are going to be 6 feet under. Mustafadi warriors now moving in. Mangonel shots coming through, but not enough. In fact, the Bombards will snipe them out, and I think the Muslim's pretty much done here. There's no easy way to recover this anymore. The keep is going to go down. The gold is going to be stripped away from him. And remember, the Muslim, he was flirting with the idea of going into Imperial Age before. Now he can't. Now he has to make an uncomfortable switch into crossbowman. Let me say that again. Crossbowman against a Civ that doesn't have much armor. You'll see him just back off for the moment, happy with the reinvestment. So much stone burnt for the Muslim to the point that he's in minus on the income. Gold at least being exhausted. Salami happy that he's got a win condition in the Sacred Sites. He says, you have to come to me now. The Muslim is going to have to focus down the center, getting into the outpost. I have to wonder, well, why would you go for the crossbows? What is Ben thinking? It's the Sofas. It's strictly for the Sofas. But that means archers are going to have a field day here. You know, the poison arrows are already looking pretty smooth, but now you don't have to worry about heavily armored units to contest with because half the comp that the Muslim's pushing, in fact, 2/3 of the comp he's pushing have no armor. Longbows and crossbows. The Muslim. Another reason why this is beneficial to him is it kind of budgets what he's spending on military, right? If you go men-at-arms, those are more pricey than getting some longbows mixed in. And also, so far, the men-at-arms have just been kind of a failure of investment, right? I understand why he does it, but the problem is men-at-arms work best at this stage in the game when you just unlimited push them. The Muslim's getting stretched thin. Like, they die so quickly, he's never reaching that unlimited push point. Looks like Mr. Sausage Man could be setting up more pit mines here. In fact, wait, how many has he got? Because you're limited per age, right? So he's got 1, 2... Okay, so he's got the 4 he can have. Pretty good gold trickle out that all in all. And it looks like we are going to see the switch into gunpowder. Musafadi Gunner Boys on the move. I like this. I was wondering when we're going to reach this stage. It's a little bit dangerous against Lombos. But these Lombos are going to have so many things to worry about. They're going to get swarmed. More gates being built. Slami's like, I need plenty of ways in and out here. Looks like the Muslim's going to be baited to come forward for a fight. Charge out. Insta retreat. Got to be careful. The Sofas plus the Mustafadi Warriors are looking to get in deep. Goldvein isn't there to create a body block situation anymore. The Muslim is getting eviscerated here. The movement speed and gap close is too strong out of the Malians. The Muslim does reach up in Imperial Age, but now the flood through will commence. Salami says, that's the goal I was looking for. In perfect position when it happens. Range units will stand their ground in a choke point, so limiting the amount of melee that can attack them. But the Sofas are in. They're clashing with the eco. And behind this, the Keeper's going down. The Muslim may have found Imperial Age, but he also may have found defeat. He calls it. without hesitation. What a play. What a timing out Salami. It worked too well. He forces the Muslim into maybe an early clash and then dives in deep, understanding he can replace what is lost. And even after that, he gets the bonus tell that the Muslim just teched up. And Ben says, 3,600 resources in the drain. My eco is exposed. My military is gone. That's it. I'm calling it. No one wants to wave the white flag against the Malians, but the Muslim will show it the respect it is due. And of course, shout out to Salami for showing us that there is a way for the Malians to win.